In this session, we are going to see what is a data model in Cassandra. So the first thing is, how does the Cassandra store the data? So it works on the cluster way. So the Cassandra database can be spread over n number of nodes. Those nodes, they work as a cluster, and the outermost container in this architecture that is known as the cluster, and it has n number of nodes. What these nodes will do is these node will contain replica of the data. So replica of the data will be available on multiple nodes. If there is a failure on any one of the node, then the other node which has that replica of the data will do the servicing of the application. That means the request which will come will be fulfilled by that particular node. So what happens? The Cassandra arranges the nodes in a cluster in a ring structure and assigns data to them. It's a very important word, key space, right? So if you have worked on RDBMS, the outermost container is known as the database. In case of Cassandra, the outermost container is known as the key space. When you create a key space, using the command line, you mention the replication factor. That means on how many numbers of the nodes this replicated data will be copied. Then you have replication placement strategy, like in what way that replication is going to happen. It is going to happen in a simple strategy way, or it is going to happen in a rack aware strategy, or it is going to happen in a data center shared strategy. Then there is another word which is known as column families, right? This column is necessarily not like the column which we talk in RDBMS. This column and RDBMS column is entirely different. So key space is the topmost container, which is like the database. Inside the uh, what do you say, the key space, we have a list of column families, right? And a column families contains collection of rows. So each row contains the ordered column. What does the column family represent? It represents the structure of your data. By looking at the graphical view, you will understand what is it. So each key space, which is like a database, can have n number of tables. In this case, it is like columns. So it may have n number of column families. Cassandra data model rules. So Cassandra doesn't support joins. It doesn't support the grouping. It doesn't support the OR clause or the aggregation, etc. So you need to store the data in a way that it can be retrieved as you require, because you cannot combine two or more related data, right? Cassandra is highly optimized for write performance. So you should maximize your write for better read performance and data availability. So there is a trade-off between data write and data read. So you can optimize your data read performance by maximizing the number of data writes. How can you do that? So Cassandra is a distributed database, and data duplication happens by replicating the data on n number of nodes. So if one of the node is not available, it will be picked up from the replica from other node. Now coming back to the key space. Key space, it's like your database, which is the outermost container. So you uh, create it like key space name with the replication. Then you mention which class it is, simple or rack based or data center. Then you mention the replication factor, like on how many nodes it is going to be replicated. Then comes the column family, which is synonymous to extent of the table in RDBMS. So a column family, it's a container of ordered collection of rows. So if you have to store a number of rows in it, then you have to use the column family. So each row, it's like collection of columns. Uh, you can add any column to any column family at any time. So column doesn't actually mean the column over here. So you can have a column uh, as a superset of the column as well. So this is how it looks, column. A column is the basic structure of Cassandra, which will have, let's say in this case, there are three values. It is a name, value, and a clock. So each will have its own value. Super column, this is also important. This is a type column, and it is a key value pair stuff over here, right? The most important part of column family schema is not fixed. That is what the NoSQL is. Cassandra does not force individual rows to have all the columns. Let's say we have a row key one. It has three columns. Each having its own value. But if I wanted to have the another row inserted in the same key space, if you want to keep one more row, I can keep two columns. I can keep four columns because there is no fixed or rigid schema over here. So that is the way how this column family work. So one row can have three columns. Second row can have two columns. Here is a simple difference between Cassandra versus the RDBMS. So RDBMS, we say it is a structured data. Cassandra has unstructured data. In case of RDBMS, it has a fixed schema. In case of Cassandra, it is a flexible schema. In RDBMS, you store the data in terms of row and column. In case of Cassandra, it is known as column. So it is a nested key value pair. So you have row, which I have shown in the previous column, then you have a column and its its value. So you can have multiple column, right? Database is the outermost container in case of RDBMS. In case of Cassandra, it is Keyspace. And in case of RDBMS, tables are the entities where you store the columns and the rows. And the synonym for table in case of Cassandra is column family, right? And column represents a structure in your table, and in case of Cassandra, column is a unit of storage. RDBMS supports foreign keys, joins, etc. And in case of Cassandra, relationships are represented using the collections. And that's all about the basic of data model in case of Cassandra. So just a quick review. We say Cassandra is a column family. A column family doesn't mean it's a column. It means because it is a NoSQL, so there is no concept of rows and columns in case of Cassandra. So we say column family is container for ordered collection of rows, right? Let's say, so if you have to store one row over here, it can have three columns with their own values. Row 2 will have two columns with relevant values. So this is how column family. So we say Cassandra is a column family database. So that's how it works. I hope this is going to help you, and thanks for watching.